I am woman. Hear me roar.
What? No, it's what does Modo want with rings?
That's a good quote. That's a good quote.
You know, I think I'm looking at the IMDb. I think that's Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan.
Okay,
are the
I was
two
gonna
orcs.
ask if you knew right out the gate, because
I didn't.
As soon as Billy Boyd talked as the orc, I went, "Come the that's Merry and Pippin." And then I remembered how low Dominic Monaghan's voice is now. That of course they're gonna make him that orc. So yeah, Alex didn't believe me while we were watching it. I was like, no, it's them. I put money on it, and I was totally right. And I think it's really cute. Honestly, I think it's really cute. Part of me wanted
really
a little bit more, like, oh, what's Vigo doing here? As
I just don't think they could afford. I'd afford it. Like out of everybody, I think those two are probably, they're very, like, if you look at their IMDb, that's what they've been doing. They've been voice acting, like, basically for 20 years.
Oh,
like, they've been doing a lot of voice acting stuff. So I'm not saying they're not talented voice actors or just talented actors in general, but I can also say that they are definitely the most affordable of the Fellowship.
Sure. That's interesting based off like the comment that Cate Blanchett made recently, where they didn't really get paid much to do the original trilogy in particular. And there's got to be like a heartstrings element too, where they're like, oh, I'll do it. Okay, I'll be Galadriel, or I'll be, like, I guess part of me like really bought that this world was in the Lord of the Rings world and the Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson world that we understand. And so I really wanted to hear some familiar voices. I am not going to complain about getting Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan. I thought that was a really cute.
Miranda Otto as well.
Oh, I thought I did recognize voice. Who was she?
Yeah, she was the narrator. She was Eowyn.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't catch that. I just thought it was low rent Cate Blanchett.
No. It was Miranda Otto.
Good for her. Good for her. It makes a lot of sense. I have a lot of opinions. Welcome back. It's 2025. This is Podcast The Rings. You know me. I'm Jess. You know him. That's Ben. Ben and I have not talked about this off camera.
And by this, we're talking about Timothée Chalamet's press run for Complete Unknown that I have sent Jess countless TikToks because she has been a day one hater of Timothée Chalamet.
That's not true.
You have doubted this man.
That's not true.
It is.
I'm ashamed for being attracted to him. That's there was a time where
he was still ashamed?
No, but there was a time when, because he was young, so much younger than I was at a certain point, but now he's like caught up in the adult age bracket.
Yeah.
But like I felt that way about Tom Holland.
Holland, yeah.
Congratulations, him and Zendaya. Let's go.
Right?
I
Crazy.
know. I'm happy for them because every time I don't hear about them, which is good for them personally, I'm like, please don't break up. Please. I'm so happy for, like, I love them so much. I feel like this is Tom Holland's biggest role he's ever going to book. And I don't know that this guy's going to work again.
You know what? I don't know. No, he's in the new Christopher Nolan movie. He's been cast in the new Nolan movie. So, like,
okay,
I feel like
if someone knows what to do with him,
turning point.
Yeah, because
this is his like Elijah Wood moment here, like where Elijah Wood went from kid actor to Frodo,
yeah,
and then decided to do a bunch of like weird actory things, and he's so good at it. So this is, I'm an adult now, like I can be more than Spider-Man moment, and we're gonna see if he can do it. I want to believe. I don't know if he can shake it.
They tried with him during one of the last Spider-Man runs. There was a movie, like a serious.
Yeah, was it called like Cherry or something like that?
Something like, I don't even remember. There was something where like, let's see him as a serious actor. I don't know that he's got the chops. Chalamet has the chops.
Chalamet is the butcher. He's chopping it up.
He's our Daniel Day-Lewis. I might just have said something crazy controversial.
I would pay so much money to see Daniel Day-Lewis on all of the podcasts that Timothée Chalamet went on. Like, Do you know who Nardwuar is?
I don't. It's a terrible
Nardwuar
name.
is like
Terrible.
this like he interviews bands and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so he interviewed Timothy Chalamet for the Bob Dylan movie. And he's just like this goofy little white guy, and all the hip hop artists love him. Like he goes
because he can he knows what he's saying,
and he knows what he's saying, and he does like the craziest research. He'll be like, Lil Nas X, your 8th grade science teacher used to say that you loved chocolate cake, and they'd be like, what the hell did you just say? Like it's like
I think I would not want to talk to this person.
After this, everybody go look up Nardwuar clips on TikTok. They're the best thing ever of how like all the hip hop artists react to this guy just like digging into the like nothing like insidious or anything, but just like the most random things.
No, that's great. It's great.
But him, and then the best part about Timothy Chalamet is anytime they talked about money, he'd be like, no, it's okay. Dune did really good. Like that was just like his.
Oh, is this the guy who was telling him to buy the records?
The records. He's like, oh no, it's okay. Dune did good.
I love that he's just like laying it out. Like, what else is he gonna say? You know?
Right.
No, I was ashamed to love Timothy because he was young, so much younger than me. And he also has like the same mousy quality that like the guy who broke my heart 5 years ago has, kind of. So I was like, don't do this, Jessica. Don't do this to yourself. But also he has Tom Holland's. These guys are babyface guys, but I think Timothy is coming into his own as an adult. So good for him. You brought up a good point. Just one more thing about Chalamet, that he had all the girls in love with him, and then he's done a couple really smart things to be like, no, I'm also a bros bro.
Yeah.
And one of them was talking about, what was it, Call of Duty or COD? Like he like cold called something on COD.
He used to mod controllers where like, and this is the most niche Call of Duty thing, is that there was a gun in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 where it was just like insanely powerful, but it was a single shot gun. But if you modded your controller, it would go full auto and you would just destroy the entire game. And he sold like 5 modded controllers, and just like any millennial like me, just like something got scratched in my brain, and I was like, oh, this guy's the real deal. And then
he did the NFL thing.
It was college game day, where he's just like listing off like, oh, this guy from, and he's not talking about like Alabama or Georgia. He's like, oh, South Dakota, Mississippi University. This guy's gone.
The third draft person.
Yeah, it's like what, and he got every single prediction right, and everyone's like, okay, this like and he's dating Kylie Jenner, and he's in like 2 of the biggest blockbusters, and he's gonna be nominated for an Oscar for the Bob Dylan thing. I haven't seen it yet, but I hear it's good.
When was it released?
In December.
Oh, so they were trying to do
it's an awards movie for sure. But yeah, it's just
I have no positive feelings about that movie. I know nothing about it. I'm not interested in it. I like
Bob
him.
Dylan guy.
Well,
and that's the thing. I will see it for him.
I like Bob Dylan. I don't love Bob Dylan, but I like him. I just don't know if people are gonna care. But if you look like Timothy Chalamet, you gotta do the Bob Dylan movie. I don't think that was down the pipe until they saw Timothy Chalamet. Anyway, we're here to talk about War of the Rohirrim. Like I said, Ben and I have not talked off screen about this. I'm mostly just getting memes about Timothy Chalamet from Ben. So we're here to share.
Doing my just desserts, guys.
Yes, you are. We're here to share our thoughts on the movie, and I want to start macro and then go micro. What is your overall opinion of this movie?
I thought, and I'm fully aware of my Middle-earth bias, but I thought this was a perfectly enjoyable movie. I didn't clap at the end. I wasn't crying. I wasn't, oh my God, I can't wait to see it again. But I was like, you know what? That was great. My main thought was that this would have been a perfect time to release an anthology anime series.
Whoa.
Of like, they've done Star Wars Visions, they've done, Marvel What If, they've done all these different things. Love, Death and Robots. We have all these like anthology series going on. And I realize a lot of this is about like the rights. They had to release something theatrically, so I get it. But this could have been an hour-long anthology of like, here's a fun story about Rohan and how the name Helm's Deep got its name.
Right. Totally. I'm inclined to agree with you. I enjoyed it to some extent. I thought some things were a little incredulous. I found myself oftentimes going, well, why are they doing that? Why is that happening? Why? Do we care? And
the siege tower, I was like, what? Guys, I don't want to be one of those YouTube bro. Well, this isn't like the AR-15 has 35 bullets and they fired 37. This movie's an F. Like, I don't want to be that guy. But when a tiny wooden bridge gets like flung across, lighted on fire.
The fact that it's even built the way it's built, like, that's their strategy. That's the definition of you're doing too much. Like, you could have done 3 other siege towers and
Who's
called
the guy
it a
that
day.
volunteered to be the drum guy on top? Like, how did he draw that short straw?
I do love that they followed through and watch him fall.
They didn't cut away. We're gonna be like, this guy deserves, like, they wanted him to be the metal guitar guy from Mad Max, but it seemed like, oh man, seems like someone drew the short end of the stick over there.
He really did, or maybe he just didn't know. I
don't think he knew.
It read to me like he didn't know. So my overall take is similar to yours, kind of, but maybe a little more drastic. I don't think I ever care to watch this ever again now that I have seen it. I think I also want to address, because it's part of the narrative of the release of this movie, are the people that are like mad that it's a girl boss, mad that Hedda is the lead. I really don't think you could have made anyone else the lead here. I'm actually personally, as someone who's not read the Silmarillion, I'm thrilled to know this story. I'm thrilled to know these people. Mm-hmm. I thought there was like really cool elements of it, and it is so nice that like that is the Rohan that we know. That is the Helm's Deep design that we know. It's not like trying to buy us into like something we don't understand already. But there's not a single through character that stays around presently enough to helm, for lack of a better word, the whole movie. Maybe you could have done it in chapters, like just looking at it from the brothers' perspective, just looking at it from Helm Hammerhand's perspective, maybe Freya's perspective at the third point. But the Freya, the Helm stuff when he's like ghostly works because we don't see him.
Yeah.
I will say probably the best part of the whole movie is Helm going at it on the bridge, or
during the blizzard. It was so cool.
It was actually incredible. That was like the climax of the film for me. I couldn't have cared less about the wolf Hera story at all, and it was really ham-fisted for me. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff we can pick apart, but that's how I feel overall.
No, you're right, because it felt like some stuff was either left on the cutting room floor, and this is where, like, you know, the business side of the movie comes in, where it's very apparent that this was rushed. Like when the bad chieftain comes in, I can't think of what his name is. Freyalof, is that him? Targ. No. General
Targ is the guy he kills, that Wolf kills at the end.
Yeah. I think it's Freyalof is the bad guy at that Helm kills in the very beginning.
Oh, his dad. Yeah, whatever the dad is. Yeah.
Or Freka. I can't remember.
Freka's the dad. Yeah.
So when he's talking, he looks like a Lego character where he's like, you shall marry my son. And it's like, okay. Like, now, there's really good animation in this. There's really, really well done action scenes. But and I realize, like, I'll always cite Castlevania, the Netflix series, is the perfect. If you want to see the distribution of an animation budget, go to Castlevania, because they will have those scenes now. And it's got Oakenshield in it. He's the main character, is the voice of Trevor Belmont.
That's funny.
Yeah. And excuse to do this. Oh, look, we're gonna talk about Castlevania now. It's but they will have those like really stilted dialogue scenes. The dialogue's good and the acting's good, but like the animation is like, oh, here's $5. And then it will go into the most dynamic action scene you've ever seen in the final 2 episodes. Like, oh, this is where they spent all the money.
Got it.
And it felt like that, where they, in a move in it like an anime 12 episode season, you understand that. Okay, like, oh yeah, we're gonna do the dialogue, save the money here, and then we got, the big climax at the end. But in a movie, you have the money. This is where the money goes.
So like, Alex was saying it's a choice, and I don't buy it because I'm totally with you. There's like nuance of facial expressions that we missed because of this stilted animation. Or maybe it is a choice, but it's a bad choice.
Especially now. Now, 10 years ago, if this movie came out, everyone would be like, you know what? It's okay. Like, we got some good, like, the writing was really good. The Watcher in the Water was really cool. The Oliphants look great. But now, when you have Demon Slayer being the highest grossing anime movie, like, animated movie of all time, you have, Solo Leveling. Like, you have all these big anime movies that are mainstream coming to theaters and being played on IMAX, blowing things out of the water. Mm-hmm. Like, it's insane. You can't do this. Anime now has leveled up its game, and you have to stay with the playing field. You have to evolve with it.
Yeah, because I couldn't help but think about Cowboy Bebop, how I know exactly how all those characters are feeling the entire time. Yeah. And that there was moments where there was a couple beats that were left on too long, or reactions were a little slow. Like they needed a little more swifter editing, strangely.
Yeah, there was right? there's some awkward pauses here and there.
Okay, I'm so glad you agree with me, because I was like, and reaction. Okay, there it is. Like, it just felt like there was like this half a beat, like misstep on things. And then it was, where's this momentary shock that Hera should be experiencing or whatever. And now we can like take a step back, appreciate just that this stuff is hand drawn and it's beautiful, and they're not using digital fill-ins and all that. I'm sure that's the case, and it's beautiful in some ways. But yeah, it felt like corner cutting, and it's disappointing to learn that. I will say this too, just like from going back to like Hera being the protagonist, she's not interesting enough, honestly. I didn't care about her. I wasn't how else do I put this?
We were told everything about her. We weren't really shown. Like, she starts off, feeding one. She this is like she throws like this. Like, how big is those eagles, man? Like, we've seen big eagles before. These are like monstrous eagles.
No, it's actually so cool. I thought the eagle stuff was very cool.
But she gives him like a chicken tender, and it's like this. It's like this big.
Why would the eagle even go for that?
Right, the eagle would have like. If I was the eagle and I realized they're smart, intelligent beings, I would have just taken her horse or something like that. Like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, it was that. I mean, it works, and I clocked the Deus Ex eagle thing happening, and it was, it needed to happen. And I don't know that eagles necessarily work like that. I don't think eagles came into play in the actual Silmarillion story itself. I don't think so.
Well, this was still Third Age, though, right? Because it's still like 100. It says 138 years ago.
The eagles are a thing.
Oh, I know, but like it wasn't, thousands and thousands of years ago.
No, but they're big AF for sure. They're big.
Also,
babies.
Rohan.
Okay.
140 years ago, Oliphants tore down your wooden walls of Edoras within like 10 seconds. Maybe you hire some stonemasons and fortify that just a little bit. Because, like, I don't know, man. I've been reading or, listening to the Game of Thrones audiobook. We're watching Game of Thrones for the Patreon. Minas Tirith is what it is.
Right.
Like, the most impenetrable castle, literally, like, with all the levels. I don't want every time you get attacked, you shouldn't have to travel cross-country to your safe bunker when your capital city is just like
exposed, practically.
We got like a picket fence on a hill. Like, it looks nice, but you gotta do a little better.
Maybe it is all ego. That whole thing is ego, and they're just like, we don't care.
Well, you think the ego would reset with the line of kings, like Helm. They did a good job, and I like that aspect of it. Brian Cox, in his 80s, still giving it 100% with Helm Hammerhand, an amazing performance.
Totally.
But like, you think once the line of kings would reset, and especially with how he got the crown. I know we're jumping all over the plot where just like the eagle delivers him the crown. It's like, oh, this fits nice. Thank you. Like, without a second thought. Or were they cousins?
They were cousins.
Okay. Because they just passed over the line of succession.
But
real
it's
fast.
Funny, right? The irony.
Yeah, Brian Cox. Yeah.
That is, well, I don't think there was an heir. So I think that
she was the heir.
But okay, so
she's a woman.
This is to your point. They didn't do a good enough job letting us understand that Hera doesn't even want to be royalty, doesn't want to be in charge. Because her arc is building her toward being in charge, and then she just sloughs it off. So it feels really unsatisfactory. I know that I can appreciate they're not trying to rewrite the story, but this is the challenge in making her the protagonist, to make it really clear that maybe she was offered the kingship or whatever, and she's like, no, this is really not my life. I didn't, I would have married Wolf if that was the case, if this is what I wanted.
Yeah, they needed to let us know, like, oh, she has no interest in politics, no interest in, the Game of Thrones or whatever you want to call it or anything like that, because it just seemed like, if this same thing happened to Éowyn, and she didn't, like, if Éowyn didn't marry Faramir,
right,
everyone would expect Éowyn to rule.
I think you're right. I think you're right about that.
I think I realized, like, what's his name? Carl Urban. Éomer.
Oh, he would have been king.
He's the older
rightfully.
brother, and like they're related, so he's still gonna rule. But like, if Éomer died in the Battle of Pelennor Fields or on, in front of Gates of Mordor, she's gonna rule, and no one would question it.
I think
he literally says it to her. He's like, rule our people, and until like the dying days, if the battle should go ill. He tells Éowyn to do that.
Nice
pull,
and so
dude. And like, so that's this. She's literally an Éowyn stand-in.
I know.
Like a predecessor to Éowyn, and so you needed when the guy shows up with the crown. I understand you need that symbol to lead people into battle. You need to unify the people.
I thought that was clever. I really did.
It was
think
good.
That was clever. Yeah.
They're at Dunharrow just chilling. Like, man, stop overlooking that cliff so casually. Stop it. You're making me nervous.
They could have also just like slung a couple arrows that way. I don't know what. They were just sitting there, man, watching this happen and play out.
But it was just like, you needed to give the audience a reason of why she didn't want to be the queen, instead of like a throwaway line as she's riding off screen.
She's always wild. Yeah, it didn't work for me. I understand why they did it, just because she wasn't the line of kings. I get that. But they built her arc incorrectly. Then I think.
Yeah. And I don't want to say this wrong, but like, she should have died. She should have died fighting Wolf or something like that, because I would have accepted that. Okay, like, that's why she wasn't named queen.
Canceled.
Canceled.
Kill the girl boss.
Oh, so I'm not woken up for this SJW podcast. But it's just like, that would have been a legitimate reason for her not becoming a king, and keeping, like, I'm not asking you to rewrite the entire history of Middle Earth, but it's like,
but Hera wasn't written about much, so they had the opportunity.
Yeah.
She was just mentioned, which is why I think people were pissed, because there was no story about Hera. The story is about Helm, but Helm dies halfway through. So you do need something to tie both ends together.
Yeah.
I get it. I don't criticize them for using Hera as the through line. But because there isn't much written about her, you do have a little bit more liberty to give us something dramatic. There was some great foreshadowing with Hera and Wolf fighting and her giving him the cut on his eye.
Yeah.
They didn't give us that foreshadowing of that fight, or the mirror of that fight well enough. Don't show it to us then. I know they fought at the end, but there wasn't enough, like, them fighting for. Yeah, maybe it's just because Wolf was just like bad. There was no redemptive factor about Wolf.
And it's like I can't be too critical of that because I've been a staunch like Middle Earth is a very black and white place. Like evil is evil. You know, I've talked about like the orcs and Rings of Power and how I feel about that. But it's just like he goes from like, oh, I know I've got like a dark side, but we should get married to I'll kill all of you and lie to everybody, and I'll like throw a baby over a wall, or just like it's like the most he goes full mustache twirling evil villain ever.
Is this an allegory for incels? Like being rejected by a dude?
I think you could read it like that.
I'm just saying, it's like an element of it, is all.
But it's like he does have that moment where she like offers him, it's like, I will agree to marry you. And he's like, oh, agree? Like it's not good enough. It's like, okay, dude. Like, yeah. Have you seen what you've done? Like, you just murdered her whole family, and she's still like, and like they even had like, you know, the general that was like, hey man, chill.
That guy looks like the head of the King's Guard, who they get rid of after.
Oh yeah, what happened, man? I was waiting for him to do something great in season 1, and he never did, and then he's just not there in season 2.
Yeah, well, they kick him out, right? And he doesn't come back. He doesn't have like a comeuppance or anything like that. But that's what that guy Targus is. Sure. It looks like him. And Wolf is just not taking any advice from this guy who's like even offering temperance and caution and like, hey, you're gonna kill all these people. I don't care. And it's just because he was rejected, and his daddy died, I guess. But also, his dad was acting like a dick. Like,
also, if it's one thing if Helm would have like gotten on top of him, like ground and pound him and stuff like that, like when he's tapping out or something. That's one thing. Yeah. Your dad got one hitter quittered. Like, your dad's got a glass fucking jaw, dude. Like, that's a skill issue. For real. Like, that is a skill issue right there, man.
And he's mad, like irresponsibly. So the two men, as quote unquote gentlemen, decide to fight. It's a choice that they made.
It is a gentleman's duel.
Yep. I don't think kill each other was on the table, but I would make the argument Helm didn't go in with the goal to kill Freka.
I don't think he went to the goal to kill Freka, but I also feel like in these times, it's always on the table.
Sure.
Like we see it like, you know, like in Game of Thrones, like at the tourneys where they're using like tourney swords and, you know, wooden lances and stuff like that. Swords can be drawn.
That's right.
If you want to go there, we can go there. So You're totally it's always an option.
Yeah.
Whether it was on purpose or not is another thing, but it's always like within reach.
Like it's 100% accurate. And all Helm did was handle it in like a more courteous way by going, "Let's go outside, bro." And again, it's like it was kind of like edging, where it's like, this is going to happen. All right, let's walk outside.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a little anticlimactic.
But even that is like, you know, he didn't jump him from behind or something like that. He didn't sucker punch him. He actually took the first punch and was like, "That's the best." Okay. Like, maybe he should have open palm slapped him or something. Man, if you die from a single open palm slap, you honestly, I'd probably just be like, yeah, you should just kill me right now, because I am coming back, because I can't live that down. Like, I can't just live this out. So I will come back for revenge just on principle. But also, again, I don't know what it is about those steps in Edoras where people are like, "No, my lord, spare him." And it just leads to the worst tragedy in the history of Rohan.
God, you're so right. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
It really does. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know if this ever happened in Eomer's kingdom. I don't know if we need that story. But Eomer, just think about this moment. If you have to give someone mercy for revenge or information on the steps of Edoras, just kill him.
Just fucking end it right there.
Just for the safety of your people. Like,
think about the bloodshed that could have been ended.
How many elves died? How many men died?
My God.
Oh, Halif, son of Hama, this is a good sword. That kid's dead. Because Aragorn spared Wormtongue.
Spare him, my lord. You're so right. They fucked up. Here's a a valid critique, I think, or well, I guess there's no such thing as a valid critique. One of my biggest problems is I don't give a shit about the brothers, and I really should. We did not get enough information about them. We didn't get anything through their lens. We didn't get their life. By the time their lives are ended, it really doesn't matter. And I feel like that was a failure of the movie.
It definitely was, and with like a 2 hour, it says 2:15, but I'll give like 10 minutes to credits.
Sure.
So, but like with a little bit of over 2 hours, you'd think you'd have time. And it felt like they were in a rush to get to Helm's Deep, to get this first battle over with. And then so much of it was the siege. And there were some really good moments in there. Obviously we talked about the Blizzard and Helm, sneaking everybody and making his last stand. But just like, I could have used more.
There's a lot of languishing at Helm's Deep, for sure.
I've noticed in my old age now that I have become so much more sentimental. Like, spoilers real quick for this manhwa and anime called Solo Leveling. Okay. And it's season 2 is on right now. It's about hunters that fight magical beasts, and they're ranked S through E, E being the lowest ranked. And once you're assigned a rank, you can't get any more powerful. So the lowest hunter, Sung Jin Woo, he's the lowest ranked hunter, and then something happens to him that he starts to level up and like become more and more powerful. So there's like these.
I thought you said he can't get any more powerful.
No, like something happens and like he like breaks the system. It becomes like the only hunter
that's like growing essentially
that can do that, and it was really good. The anime is great. It's on like episode 2 of season 2. So if you guys want to catch up, it's great. And then this is the most like a manhwa compared to a manga. Manga is like a comic book, a bunch of panels on one page.
I've never heard manhwa before.
Manhwa is a Korean manga, basically. It's a Korean comic book, and it's one panel per page. So like one panel per page, and like these. Jess, I know you've read some comics, like the big splash pages. Imagine that every page. The most gorgeous art you've ever seen. And he's fighting, orcs and demons and all these crazy things. Amazing. And he's got a love interest. And I swear to God, finished the manhwa, and I was like, oh man, I really liked it, but I wish we had more romance moments. And in the epilogue, like he gets to kind of redo everything, and he meets her. And then, like, he literally, like, says, like, okay, everyone look away. And he goes up and he gives her a kiss. And I swear, out of him fighting, like, dragons and demons and orcs, I was like, yeah, just kind of scrolling. I was like, oh, wow. I literally was like, woo! Like, when he kisses her, I swear, I, like, cheered like I was Rudy in, like, the 4th quarter, man. And so there's stuff like that where it's really, really great. And so I would have loved to know the brothers better. I would have loved to feel how Hera was supposed to feel when her brother gets his throat slit in front of the gate of Helm's Deep, because that's insane.
It's actually insane. And understand. I mean, we sort of get it when Helm is pleading for his life in exchange for his son's. We sort of understand, but where is this family in the happy before this happens, right? And this is kind of to your point. They didn't show us. They note us on her.
Yeah.
Show us the dynamics of them in court before Freka fucking shows up.
Yep.
These brothers seem interesting. One's kind of like Artie, and I know they give us just enough to understand who they are.
One is Boromir, one is Faramir. Like, you have the blueprint right there for us.
Let us see it. Let us care. Let us see the Theoden in Helm or whatever. Just, if you're going to give us another female protagonist from Rohan, we've already seen the story. Do the story then again a little bit. Give us some things to hang our hat on. I don't even give a shit about the fucking cousin. He's like, get the fuck out of here, Fruity Loop. Get out of here. We don't like you. And it's just because he hangs out with Hera. it doesn't want to trust him. I don't know. I'm sure it played out similarly.
Yeah, you couldn't 1v1 a rabid Oliphant. Skill issue, dog.
Skill issue. Well, no, they kicked him out before. Oh, that's what the zombie.
Like he was disagreeing with Helm, and he kind of like made that as an excuse that he couldn't even protect Hera. So how can I take your counsel seriously?
No, it's terrible. Yeah. So it's very unfortunate what happens. I'm going to say this just from a vegetarian standpoint. I really hated watching what was happening to the Oliphants.
Yo, I didn't know the Watcher in the Water was the throat goat, dude. Like-
You said it better than I was going to say it, because I didn't need to see that. I get it. And we all got it. Stop.
Haktua Towers.
At a certain point, we realized the Oliphant's not going to make it.
It kept going, Jessica. Like, I realize you have to display the horrific thing that is happening on screen.
No, you don't. Go under the water.
Yeah. Like, as soon as he, like, put the head in his mouth, go underwater.
We got it. But no,
he was twisting, and like it was.
We watched the Watcher in the Water sort out the problem ad nauseum. Like, yeah, on the fly, engineer eating an entire Oliphant.
I've seen that video of like the Komodo dragon eating like the little deer or something, and then just like how am I gonna do this? Like, it's an insane video, but it's like, I don't need to see that in Middle Earth.
The first point where I was like, this is too much, is where they go underneath the elephant and they like gouge it from below. Yeah. It already bothered me that half the ear was cut off and like its skin was ripped. It was like too much, and like I felt so bad for these abused animals, and it reminded me about how they're abused in Thailand and people aren't allowed to like ride them, and they shouldn't, and they're only evil because of their conditioning, not because they should be evil. And then we get that, and it's fucking horrible. And then when they storm the fucking city, it's also these poor animals. It was pretty gruesome, and they did a little too much. It
was like the animation was very well done.
Like, sure.
But also, there's just like a Watcher in the Water just chilling in a lagoon there. Like,
no, I think they brought them. I think they're that close. Are they that close to
Moria?
Yeah.
I guess.
I imagine that's the same lake. That was my thought process.
I wonder, like, how big the water is around the mountain, the Misty Mountains.
Oh, well, she seemed to fucking hit it right on point.
Like, yeah, like he's just like an island chilling there.
Which is an interesting depiction.
Yeah, dude, like, I feel like animals, hopefully we're smart enough. I'm sure there's like some Darwin Award winners in Middle Earth.
Sure.
What's up, YouTube? Today we're going after the Watcher of the
Water. I'm Jake Paul.
Mr. Beast presents How Long Can You Live Next to the Watcher in the Water for $100,000?
This is real life Squid Games, but not really.
I promise this isn't dystopian as fuck right now. I swear I'm a good person.
Do you know when I put two and two together that nothing is more dystopian than the fact that we have reality TV shows and the prize is money? Like, that's how much we value money and how little of it is going around. That we watch people like fight for it. But anyway.
But yeah, it's just like no one. How does this thing eat? I feel like after, I don't know, a couple of years, no one's going to that lake if you're just chilling.
How does a tree grow on it? It moves so infrequently that a tree grows on it undisturbed. It's not like it lifted up the earth. It's like, the earth on the back of a tortoise kind of thought process. That would indicate that it doesn't move. This must sustain it for 20 years.
I hope so. I mean, it's not moving much, so he can't. Like, probably doesn't burn too many calories.
That's what I'm saying.
Like that.
So I think it doesn't actively, or the legs could just.
That's why. I think this is the first, and that's why it was struggling so much. He's like, I haven't seen anything in 15 years.
Thanks, bitch. And they become friends. The watcher in the water is actually the thing that saves them at the end.
Gives her a thumbs up as it's like going back down to the water.
Because he has multiple tentacles, by the way. It could reach for a Hera. It could.
Yeah, when it like shot out more tentacles, I was like, oh my god. I know this is Japanese, but like we don't need the hentai right now.
I pity the person that felt the need to make the erotica, because it exists.
It's out there.
It's out there.
Like we've been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals, and like the character designs are so insanely horny, and the character designs have already like leaked. Like hackers have already gotten some of the character designs, like the models, and I'm just like I know what they're gonna do with them. I'm not saying I don't, but like I'm glad I don't need to see that.
Listen, I've been on a website not meaning to search for this because I don't play this game, but there's plenty of Overwatch information out there.
Overwatch borderline spawned this. Like
that's exactly right.
Yeah. But I did enjoy a lot of this movie, though.
Sure.
Honestly, like it was entertaining. I thought the voice acting was very, very good. I just thought, like, if we're gonna be here for 2 hours, that's not a long time, but for an animated movie, it's a long time. Show me who Hera is during the siege. Then, like, tell me, like, have her tell stories about her brothers. Have her tell stories about what she wanted to be and who, like. That would have been a perfect time to be like, oh, I never wanted to lead. I never wanted to lead my people. Like, she falls into this role so effortlessly and is, like, giving advice to her dad, giving advice to her brothers. Like, she never seems like an outsider. Right. She never seems like, oh, she's the wild child.
Yeah.
She just seems like, oh, she likes to go riding every once in a while, and because she's a woman, that's a little weird. But it's not that weird.
So right. Where's the scene where her brother's stopping her after the war cancel room? Why is she in there? I guess reporting what she saw about the Oliphant. But like, have him stop her and go, what's the problem? She goes, I'm trying to, no one ever takes me seriously. Or, like also, or when it's like, you're supposed to be the leader now. It wasn't supposed to come to me. It never was going to come to me. You're so right that we're missing. I'm afraid to agree with the keyboard lickers saying that like they're just making a girl boss woke film. I don't necessarily agree. I really do think there was no one else that could, in this format of a story, carry the through line from start to finish, because no one else exists throughout the start to finish.
Yes.
Right? So I actually do understand, use the person that has the least amount written about her. But then don't make it a feminist manifesto. Don't make the shield maiden woman also the biggest badass on the planet. I would be so okay if they found a way to make this whole fucking movie about Helm Hammerhand, and it's only through his perspective. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, because that was some fucking dope shit that he was doing, and sad.
And it's just like, The King's Speech is not a great movie. It was perfectly fine, but that's it's a good example of like, oh, this was never supposed to come to me. I was like, I
what
had
do you mean?
Like he was like third in line for the succession. Like he was not supposed to be king, and so like he never expected to be.
I understand what you're saying.
And so it's just like, that's such a good example of how to do that. And so of like, oh, unexpected leadership comes unexpectedly. And you just have to be ready if and when the moment is there. And there's good moments of that, but I just wish, I don't know, I feel like I'm just repeating myself of just like, oh, I just wish we had more from her. Because the stuff we did get, I did like.
Yeah, totally.
I like the voice actor. I like the character design. I think, her showing up in the wedding dress is badass. Like, I'm sorry.
I didn't think it was going to be like that when I first saw her in the wedding dress. I was like, oh, she's going to rebel on her wedding day. And like, I thought that's what it was going to be. And this was so much better. It really was.
Yeah. And I thought like her final fight with Wolf was really, really well animated. I liked it a lot. But I needed more from Wolf as a villain. And I needed more, like, give me more backstory with them. Was when they got scarred as a child the last time they saw each other? Like, I would have loved, like, give me like 3. Give me 3 childhood, teenager, last time you guys talked.
Did she
boom.
reject him sooner? Was it a Joe March thing? Speaking of Timothée Chalamet, like,
that scene's been going around TikTok, and I've watched it like 5 times. And
it's
oh my
so
God.
good.
I need Timmy and Saoirse to do, like, they've done Lady Bird, and like that's a TikTok series. Like, don't worry, I won't rat on you. Good, because I'll kill your whole fucking family. Like, they're so good in Lady Bird, and then they're so good in Little Women. I need Greta to put them in. I think she's doing like Chronicles of Narnia on Netflix. I don't know if they probably won't ever do that, like Timothy and Saoirse.
They wouldn't do that.
They wouldn't do that, but I need them to somehow
work
team up again.
Kind of like how Kate and Leo are just so good together.
Kate and Leo, Emma and Ryan Gosling, like there's just like good pairs out there. Emma Stone.
Oh, yes. How often
La La
have they worked
Land.
together? Oh my God.
La La Land, Crazy Stupid Love, and
that.
Unfortunately Gangster Squad. It's a very bad movie.
I don't know what that is.
It's very bad.
Anyway, I think you're right. I think there's really not much more to talk about except that, like, at the risk of repeating ourselves at this point, except that the movie was okay. I understand why she was the lead. I think there were fun moments. I thought the Helm Hammerhand fucking frozen in space was incredible.
It was just like, I want that on a t-shirt.
When he like closes the door on, totally, like on a van or something.
Yes.
100%. When he closes the door on her, it's beautiful. I thought they played out the scene of her trying to follow him pretty interestingly. Good for Dominic and Billy. Good to see them there or hear them. Overall, okay. I don't care about this movie though. I don't.
Yeah, and it's super unfortunate that just like it's just such a heavy burden for it to live up to this initial trilogy that like every review, even the most like glowing positive, is kind of what we're saying. It's like, oh, it's good. It's not Lord of the Rings, but it's just like
we didn't need it to be.
I didn't need it to be, and it's just like I just need it to be good and entertaining and fun. Yeah. And there were moments of that, but it's just like it's almost more frustrating that the potential was there for it to be great. Now, was it ever going to be Lord of the Rings? No. Guys, stop. Nothing's going to be Lord of the Rings. It is. We watched it again over Christmas, like we always do. And like, you forget how perfectly crafted these movies are, from the most minute details to like the biggest crescendo moments. Nothing is going to be these movies, and that's okay, because these movies exist. We can just enjoy these movies separately without comparing them to everything else in Middle Earth. Those are good. Those are amazing. They're perfect. They're on the pedestal. They've got the gold medal. Let's look at everything else now. Let's look at the rest of the field. And so it's like everybody at the Olympics is still the greatest in the world. Just because there's Michael Phelps, like, that's okay. But just like, it really could have been great. Just a little more character stuff. Give me a reason to care about Hera and her brothers.
Here's the problem with doing it like they did. Again, you're right. It's a rights issue. They were probably just trying to get this out before they lost the rights to it, which it's a business.
Yep.
But you just ruined the possibility of making something like this again in the future because it's not going to be a salient business proposition.
Yep. Didn't make any money.
So you have killed the potential of having some creativity about this, or an anthology, or having some future. And I really think they're going to fumble their legacy with the catching Gollum movies. I really do.
I don't even know what that is. We haven't heard any news from it, but it's just like, yeah, that's the thing, is that we're going to look back on this when, granted, I love being wrong when it comes to this stuff.
You want to be good. I want it to be good.
No one wants it to be good more than me. Literally nobody. Like, especially if you have Vigo and Ian McKellen coming back, like, and Andy Serkis, obviously. Which I don't think it's
confirmed that
it's not. I don't know if it's confirmed, but it's been.
They said we're like interested or something like that.
But it's just like it doesn't look great. The story looks thin as a razor blade, and so it's just like, we're gonna look back on this and be like, oh man, if this was good, this would have just satiated us for years to come.
Or allowed and paved the road for like similar content to come out.
Yeah. Yeah, if every 4 years we got like an animated Elseworld, you know, off-brand Lord of the Rings story, like Middle-earth First Age. You know, I just saw a TikTok about the final battle of Morgoth versus, you know, the elves, and that it lasted for years. And the dragons came down, and the Balrogs, and like, you know, they rent mountains, and they tore down the sky, and it's like, yeah, give us that. Give us that is like the perfect animated thing, because otherwise it's all going to be CGI anyways, so you might as well make it animated. And just like the suspension of disbelief is great, and that's what we're missing is this, is that you had the scene with the Watcher and the Oliphants and like going under. It's like, yeah, you can do that in anime because you're like, oh yeah, okay, it works. Because like when even in, you know, Return of the King, when they do that, it's one of the few graphics that doesn't hold up. That's well.
Right.
Is when she's like steering, and it's like a ride at Universal Studios. You're like, whoa! I'm on the Harry Potter ride.
Where's that ride?
Oh my gosh, that'd be insane.
Wow. But yeah, you're totally right. Even make The Hunt for Gollum an animated film. I don't give a crap. Let it be good. Give it the chance that it deserves to be good. Let this come out 1 year later. Put out a fucking 5-minute teaser to keep the rights. I don't give a shit, but let it be good. And also don't chase the fad of, well, it's a female-led film. I couldn't care less, actually. Yeah. I can understand people's fatigue for that if it doesn't actually tell a unique story. This didn't tell me a unique story. It was okay, and that's about it. Folks, we're stoked to be back. It is 2025.
Stoked.
Ben and I have some fun things coming up. If you are a member of our Patreon, you already know that. We are in the middle of our Game of Thrones watch along. We're kind of at like a pace, except for over the holidays, of like releasing an episode every 2 weeks of our Game of Thrones watch along. That might increase depending on our interest and availability, but you can access that at $5 if you want. If you don't, you can just hit like and subscribe on this YouTube.
Boom, baby.
Let's go. That's the easiest thing you could do. Or if you're listening to us on podcast, you can just leave a 5-star, maybe 4-star review if I give you the ick, and let us know your thoughts. Dude, I had a really, really rough December, and I think it changed me. So I know I'm excited for you all to see the new Jessica. It's not that different, but it's a little different. And Ben, any resolutions you want to share with our friends? Anything?
No.
Okay, sick, dope, cool, great podcast partner. And all right, just do all the things. You can find all that information in the description of this episode. And until next time,
may our paths lead us to the Watcher in the Water, if you know what I'm saying.
Ben's new resolution is looking for that throne. Go, 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 go.